Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Save $100 on the Craftsman V20 6-Tool Power Tool Combo Kit, now at $199. No matter what the project is, Craftsman's high-quality, high-performance products empower you to build on. Stop by your nearest Lowe's store and check out the full line of Craftsman tools today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard with you live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Big show lined up today. We're going to hit everything. You name it, we're talking about it. Major League Baseball card with props, Stanley Cup Final, NBA Finals, what happened in the state of Illinois. Derek Stevens on the program a little bit later on. Jensen Lewis on the show as well. Scott Agnes to talk NBA Finals coming up in 30 minutes. But we do have to react to the big news in the NBA it broke about an hour and 15 minutes ago. And to me, this is a totally reckless overreaction by one of the biggest organizations in any North American sport, the New York Knicks. This is maybe part of the reason why it had been 25 years since you were in the Eastern Conference Finals and why you failed to win playoff series going back a long, long time. I said yesterday, you asked me if they're going to overreact, and do you concur? I said, they can't. That'd be silly. This is the one thing that they could not do. And they did. I hate the decision. If they don't have somebody lined up by like tomorrow and announce them, that even it pushes my reckless thought it accelerates that into warp speed then. What are they doing, Paulie?
I would hope that Rose has the game plan. I don't know who the guy's going to be. That's the other thing. I asked a Knick fan, what are they doing? Same question you asked me, and they said being stupid. I can't. First time in 25 years you make the conference finals, and this is the fall guy here? That you thought you were some super team and actually underachieved? I don't know. But the whispers started. We thought he was in trouble with the Pistons series, but they won that series, and then they shocked the Celtics, and then still it wasn't good enough.
So what happens now? If that series plays out like the betting numbers suggested, right, and Tatum doesn't get hurt and the Celtics don't blow those 20-point leads and Boston beats the Knicks in 5 or 6 games, is Thibodeau fired then? Or was that, well, we had a really nice season. We'll have year 2 of the trade with Karl Anthony Towns bringing in Bridges. We can maybe, and now, we can get to the Eastern Conference Finals maybe next year, and that's going to be another big step. Or was it that they had home court and they got past the Celtics in 6 games? They had home court to go to the finals, and they lost the first 2 games. They completely blew game 1, and they fell apart, and they eventually, could not even get it back to game 7 at home in that finals there. Is that the reason why? That's totally illogical, man.
Just extended him last summer.
Yeah.
Through 27-28. Fourth most wins by a coach in franchise history. The players have his back. At least what Brunson said and Hart and others tweeted and said after they were eliminated by the Pacers. Certainly he runs guys into the ground and doesn't like to play bench players and will keep the starters in there in blowouts. But the next hire's got to be a good hire, and I know Dolan signed off on this, and this was the decision of Leon Rose, but I'm alone. I don't know. Budenholzer, I think, would be a mistake. This is a shocking move, and I think a bad move.
Well, globally speaking, the odds are up already for the next head coach of the Knicks. And, tell me a name here that stands out to you that says...
Sure, run him down.
Okay.
He's a good coach. I know he can wear on you, and they're going to trot out the same crap about needed a new voice stuff. But considering the other trash that's out there, or just regurgitating the same guys... you better be creative and unique here. And I know Malone just won a title, but they got sick of him in Denver.
Yep. The short shot on the board, this is at Bovada. Johnny Bryant is plus 240. He is the associate head coach over with the Cavaliers. You're going to go from the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years and Tom Thibodeau to Johnny Bryant? I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Kenny Atkinson is 4-1.
Come on,
yeah.
Kenny Atkinson.
Mm-hmm. He's going to leave the Cavaliers?
Come on. Oh, my God. Some of these are ridiculous, like Mark Jackson on that list.
James Borrego is plus 950. Associate head coach, New Orleans Pelicans. Okay. Mike Budenholzer. If they go from Thibodeau to Mike Budenholzer, just shut it down. Mm-hmm. He's plus 950. Patrick Ewing, same number.
Oh, this is comedy.
I guess the people at this, the traders of this book had a tough time, or they're trying to be whimsical with this, because they also have Patrick Ewing on the list, Sam Cassell. Mark Jackson is 14-1. Mike D'Antoni is 20-1.
Oh, God.
Run it back with Jeff Van Gundy, 25-1. Stackhouse is 25-1. Are they going to go to Adrian Griffin, who couldn't even get to the halfway point of the season with the Bucks, 28-1? And then they have some other nonsense on the list as well. Tim Bontemps tweeted this out from ESPN not that long ago. Pretty hard to justify firing a coach who won 4 playoff series in 3 years when the Knicks had won a single playoff series in the prior 22 years.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Well said.
And there's another tweet here from...
so I was going to say, to add to that, consecutive 50-win seasons for the first time since the 90s. I would hope there's more to the story here, or something could come out, but this is... oh, boy.
This is from Matt on X at 6 Rings of Steel. Every NBA coach of the year from 2018 to 2023 ended up getting fired. If you go all the way back, Dwayne Casey with Toronto, fired. Budenholzer, fired with the Bucks. Nick Nurse, who replaced Dwayne Casey, fired by the Raptors. Thibodeau got the axe today. Monty Williams, fired from Phoenix. And Mike Brown, after Sacramento stunned everybody a couple of years ago, also fired. You don't want to win that award, evidently.
Yep. Good tweet. And the other thing is, remember what Finch said after Minnesota was eliminated. Just get ready for next year, too. Because he's right. There's going to be 12, 13 teams in the Western Conference alone that think they can be a top 6, top 5 seed and have a good regular season. And a lot of these teams, the best they're going to do is 42-40. And then what does ownership think? Or the general manager? Whatever it may be.
Oh, by the way, from a betting standpoint, odds are up at several books to win next year's NBA championship. The New York Knicks are the second shortest shot on the board behind the Thunder. The Thunder are like in the 2-1 range at DraftKings and at the Westgate. DraftKings has the Knicks 8-1. Westgate has the Knicks 9-1. They're number 2. Entire league.
Yeah.
And they just got rid of their head coach. Was it his fault they lost to the Pacers?
He did some interesting moves. I know Barkley called him out several times. Some of the rotation stuff didn't work and substitution stuff didn't work. I mean, he tried different things as well. But I would say the answer is no. And they got beat by a better team. The question is, was it good enough if they beat the Pacers? I mean, what's the difference? So if they beat the Pacers, he was okay then?
And they got swept by the Thunder?
Right. How does it
be fine?
An extra couple wins? I mean, you hadn't done anything in 25 years. Think about how bad they were before we got there.
Of course, they were a non-factor.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he won Coach of the Year, as we talked about. He did an excellent job there. He was still like 25-1 late in the season. You have to also be able to handle the New York media, which they could be all over you, and how you handle that. And New York isn't for everybody. I just go back to they were a laughingstock, and he did an incredible job. Now, how the roster was built together and put together and kind of clunky with the moves you made and you're ball dominant with Brunson, who takes a lot of shots, and you still have these guys who need the ball, and Towns needs his shots, and Bridges needs his shots. That's something for the general manager. But the Garden was rocking. You finally had excitement. You finally got to the conference finals. You finally made a deep run, and it's not good enough.
Yeah, I'll one-up you here. I think for 25 years, other than a small blip on the radar with Carmelo Anthony and then Linsanity, outside of that region of the world, I think the Knicks were irrelevant for more than 2 decades. Other than very small sample sizes of time, nobody cared. You're right. You used the word laughingstock. That's exactly what they were. Couldn't take them seriously. Didn't care about them.
Free agents wouldn't consider them.
No, absolutely not.
No?
They were an afterthought. Never thought about the Knicks ever. And now this year pops up, and then the run they had with Tibbs overall. And here you go. Again, the betting odds. I can't get past that part. Number 2 on the odds board. They're like, nah. And if they don't have a guy named, what if they reach out to like 2 or 3 guys and like, nah, we don't want it. If Dan Hurley's going to be the number 1 guy on the list, according to some, and he plays around,
yeah.
I'm sure they're going to, right?
You have to call him. He's right down the street.
So what if he drags it out like last year with the Lakers?
I know.
Hims and he haws, and he's like, I'm thinking about it. Give me another couple of days. Let me get my stuff together. And then, I'm really meant to play in college. Well, that's a horrible game plan if you're in the Knicks then. If you think you have a guy or have a chance with him and you keep getting turned down, it's going to be more pathetic.
What may have done it was what happened in the regular season. Against the top 3 teams in the league, they went 0-10 and were outscored on average by 16 a game. Maybe that did it too.
Well, I'll ask
I
you
don't
this.
know. But I still like my position if I'm the Cavs coming into next season, and the Pacers as well. And I would drop Boston considerably.
Let me rephrase my question a minute ago. Was it Tibbs' fault they lost game 1 to the Pacers?
No.
That was a total fluke by Nesmith.
Yes. They stopped playing. The players said it, though. They relaxed, and they weren't guarding anybody and switching, and he hit a bunch of threes.
So if they don't blow that game,
they did a bad job
and they
with
win
it,
it, right? And then they eventually win the series?
Yeah, Tibbs isn't shooting free throws.
No, of course not. It's not his fault. It wasn't his fault they lost the game.
Towns is 90%.
OG missed one.
That's right.
And Nesmith hit 8 from the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I love it, by the way. Like organizations always tell fans and media not to overreact. Here's Exhibit A of an organization.
Yeah, right.
Completely going down that path.
Yeah, I know. I want to be at the press conference, and I want to see what the response is. What if they would have beat Indiana? Then he would have been okay.
Oh, they got it. They'll ask every single question. Yeah, they will. They'll throw the entire book at him.
We'll ask Mahoney in 45 minutes. Bet smarter this football season. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber today. Get a full year, $199, and the free pre-order of the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook by Josh Applebaum. No-nonsense guide to reading the market, spotting sharp action, and making smarter bets. Every pick, every host, every guest. A morning email from Bill 80, the betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, the dog videos as well, and the upcoming NFL betting guide, which drops July 1st. You have a lot down your plate. VSiN.com/subscribe. Code BOOK to sign up. VSiN.com/subscribe.
Were you stunned today when you heard the news?
No, I wasn't stunned, but it's like...
You were at least surprised
Well, the mind was made up, though. Come on now. The season ends Saturday.
Done.
They wait, and then a couple of days later, they fire him. I mean, they knew what they were going to do.
I was surprised. I really was. Up next, we'll get into today's Major League Baseball betting card. Look at Paulie Howard betting and recommending the Rockies yesterday. Oh, who could possibly do that? And he wins it. Is he going to go back to the well with them one more time tonight?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Time to talk NBA Finals here as we head out to the Progressive guest line. Scott Agnes does a great job of covering the Indiana Pacers and the Fever for Fieldhouse Files, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Scott, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to Game 1 coming up in a couple days here.
Yep, same here. Let's talk about this from a betting standpoint to begin with quickly. Now, this is not priced like a 1 versus 16 in college basketball during March Madness, but the Thunder are such big favorites, laying like $7, so you have to lay $700 to win $100 just to win the series outright. That's like almost a good 4 against a 13 seed in March Madness. Does that feel right to you? I mean, or does it seem to like the Pacers have a much better chance than that?
I think on the court, the Pacers have a better chance with that. But in terms of the odds, I'm not surprised. This was the dominant team all season. This is a team that went 29-1 against teams in the East. They beat the Pacers in one of their 2 meetings by 20-plus points. They have an outstanding defense. They begin it at home. And on top of that, the public doesn't know a ton about both these teams. Or do they know? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is on one of them. And so, of course, it's going to tilt that way pretty heavily.
Do you think they're going to get beat up on the glass?
That's been one of the Pacers' biggest problems, really, since my time covering them in the last 13 years here. I don't think they'll necessarily get.
Oh,
okay.
Damn.
Bad connection here. We'll try to reconnect with Scott. Want to get into, by the way, the tempo, how fast they're going to go. Because remember, Halliburton was mad at himself after the one loss to the Knicks. And he goes, that's on me. I walked the ball up the court. I recognized it when it was happening, and they totally corrected that in the following game. And then, what are we talking here, Paulie? If they get the open threes, which they should against this Thunder defense, they're deep. They got a ton of guys who can shoot. Are we talking 40, 45 threes a game?
That's what I would do. And plus, on VSiN.com today, Dan Karpuk had a good breakdown about OKC allowed the second most corner threes in the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
So that's hunt those matchups. Try to find that. You have so many guys that can shoot threes. That could be a way to attack them as well.
I was listening to Money Moves earlier today with Stormy and JVT, and he said that Hartenstein, JVT did, that this might not be a series for Hartenstein. He might be actually relegated to the bench a little bit here.
Interesting.
Yeah, so Scott's back now on the show. We've talked about this a lot. The Thunder will allow open threes, and Paulie just said a lot of corner threes as well. Like, if they're there, right, this team is super deep, meaning the Pacers, a ton of guys who can shoot. Are we talking like if 40, 45 threes a game potentially?
Not for the Pacers, no. I'd be surprised if they got that high. I'd actually like to see them attempt more three-pointers, guys. They've been pushing like maybe 30 per game. I'd like to see that number 35. So I would be stunned if they got into the 40s. But you raised a good point. The Thunder give up a ton of corner threes, and no team shoots better from the corner in threes than the Pacers. So that's definitely something to watch. And as I heard jumping back on here, I agree with Hartenstein. I'll be curious with him and Chet Holmgren. To me, if you ignore the stars, to me, Miles Turner and what happens on the interior is one of the biggest questions I have heading into this series.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. How do you think Carlisle's going to play it? Because Toppin had some big games and some big minutes, and how long will he trust Turner?
I think quite a while, for sure. He's not afraid to pull the leash and go with a smaller lineup like an Obi Toppin at the 4, Siakam even at the 5. But I think the advantage could be Pacers here, especially the way Miles can shoot the ball, how he can do a pick and pop with Halliburton, especially as Lou Dort and Thunder are going to be all over Halliburton. I'm very curious to see what he's able to produce offensively, because that's the number one thing the Thunder are going to try to take away.
What about in terms of tempo overall? In Indiana now for a couple of years, obviously they go very fast. They're one of the fastest teams in the league. And I referenced that point after Game 3 when Halliburton told the media after they lost to the Knicks, he's like, yeah, you know what? I recognize I was walking the ball up the court in that game. I can't do that anymore. We got to push it. And in Game 4, I thought they set the tone immediately, because after a Knicks bucket, they came back down and scored. They retaliated like right away in the opening seconds to score within like 4 seconds. And like, okay, they're setting the tone here tonight. Are they going to go warp speed pretty much the entire time?
That'd be their hope. But here's the interesting thing in all this is the Thunder have a better pace in this postseason, and they also have scored more fast break points than the Pacers in this postseason. That's one of the great similarities I see between these two teams, in addition to the makeup of the team, how so many of these guys were maybe counted out in their previous situation, traded away and acquired here by their respective teams. But from a pace standpoint and endurance standpoint, I think they're similarly matched.
OKC's been taking it away from everyone and forcing turnovers all year long. Well, you think that'll continue, or the Pacers are so good with the ball and Halliburton that they'll take care of it?
I think it all depends on how much trouble they're able to give Halliburton. He had a couple games with no turnovers against New York. He also had one game where he had 4 turnovers and just was taken out of his rhythm and uncomfortable all game long. During the regular season, he had just average success. He led them in scoring one of the games when they lost by 20. His high was 18 points, and that led the team. And so this is such a disruptive defense that I think turnovers won't be a major factor in most of the games, just because of how well the Pacers take care of the ball. It's one of their pillars.
They have a great home court advantage. Is it encouraging for you and the fan base that OKC has struggled away from home?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing if you're the Pacers you got to lean into, right? Because they've been dominant at home, OKC has. So you have to realize, hey, if we could just get game 1, that's the one I've been thinking about here, right? Like, maybe I don't technically completely believe in it, but especially back in the day with Peyton Manning and the Colts here, you'd always have that end-of-the-year debate, is it Russ versus Russ? Mm-hmm. Well, the Thunder have been off for more than a week now heading into this. The Pacers, little less time. They have, a little bit more of basketball they've played over the last couple of days. If they could get game 1, come back to Indianapolis with that crowd that you alluded to there, then I think that sets them up for success in this series. It'll be tough if they drop both of the first 2 games, then really feel the pressure and some urgency as they return home.
Mm-hmm. Do you see a big spot here or a big opportunity for one of the others here on the Pacers? Like Mathurin against the Knicks struggled to open up the series, but he came on the gangbusters late. Is there a player here, like maybe on the bench, that you can see like having a really big series?
Yeah, TJ McConnell always mixes things up. I could see him having a couple games of 10-plus points, but I think the most favorable thought here would be Pascal Siakam. He has the most experience of anyone on this Pacers roster. He's won a G League title, G League MVP, NBA MVP, championship with the Toronto Raptors. I know it makes a lot of sense given he's one of the stars, but if I'm looking for a safe, favorable move, I think it would be Siakam's contributions. He scored 30-plus points in 3 of the 6 wins against New York.
How close to 100% is Neesmith, you think, entering the finals?
Yeah, I think probably you're pushing 85, 90%. I was told he was feeling very well, almost back to normal heading into Game 6. Now, Game 5 was a little bit different, and he was out of his routine. It was a game that was on the road as well. But I think you're cautiously optimistic about what he's able to do for the duration of the series. And he's going to have to play a big factor. He's their best defender generally and will probably get the first crack at SGA.
Were you surprised Siakam won Eastern Conference Finals MVP?
I was not. I didn't have a vote, but if I did, that would have been mine as well, given what I alluded to earlier with his contributions, both in terms of points, but also throughout this series and his mentorship and what he's the guy you can always count on. And maybe I'm a little biased because I've been watching him all season, and all season long the thought was, man, where would this team be without Pascal? Especially the first 2 months of the season when numerous players were injured, including 3 starters. They were starting a G League two-way player as their point guard in a game there in November. Siakam was the safe choice and the right choice in my mind, even though I would have understood if Halliburton, the face, the star of the team, would have been awarded it too.
Scott, you also cover the Fever there as well. It's a very small sample size since the injury happened to Caitlin Clark. It has not gone well, to say the least, for that team without her. Is now the time to bet her to win the MVP?
I guess if you want to risk some money there, I don't think so. I think she's probably still a year away from doing something like that. On top of that, you brought in 6 new players. So as much as we should emphasize the continuity, familiarity, comfort with the Pacers, it's the opposite for the Fever. They're still figuring out each other. Caitlin trying to understand how to play with those teammates. And remember, she was sidelined for about a week of training camp, missed the first preseason game with like a bone bruise in her left leg as well. And so she hasn't been 100% at all this season. And they also have several other injuries, which will impact the win-loss record. Therefore, I think it impacts her chance to win MVP.
Very good. Scott Agness, our guest here, he covers the Pacers and the Fever for Fieldhouse Files. You can follow him on X. He is at Scott Agness, Agness, and he was on the Progressive Guest Line. Pleasure talking to you today, Scott. Thanks for the time. We appreciate that.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We hit the road next week. June 12th through the 14th, live from Rocco's, the home of the Jell-O Shot Challenge, College World Series in Omaha. Catch Money Moves and us live from Omaha. Special Saturday show, 9 to 12 in the morning, local time, bringing the sights, sounds, and best bets from the tournament, U.S. Open, NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals. If you're in the neighborhood, stop by, say hello. Rocco's, the home of the Jell-O Shot Challenge for the College World Series, the 12th through the 14th in Omaha.
We were kind of close to getting maybe like a Little Rock against Coastal Carolina.
Only the max number is 3 SEC teams that can make it.
Unbelievable
What
weekend.
happened? Strength of schedule. Sankey, what happened, buddy?
Win some, lose some is up next. I wonder if anybody bet this last night because it was 100-1. Paulie with the details coming up.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Busy hour on tap. Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of this great property, coming up in 30 minutes. We have to get into what Illinois did to everybody involved in sports betting recently. He's probably not going to be happy as Circa is there involved in sports betting, obviously, and available to bet at in that state. And here we head out to the Progressive Guest Line to talk some Stanley Cup Final. We head to Edmonton as Tom Gazzola joins the program now, a host on Edmonton Sports Talk. You can follow him on X at his name, at Tom Gazzola. Good afternoon, Tom. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. Dennis Bernstein gave you guys a lot of love last night, so I'm very excited to be on with you.
Oh, DB's the man. Absolutely. We've known him for 20-plus years. So he loves to stay at the Doubletree, I believe, at Edmonton. So going back to the pandemic. Okay, so we've talked to a lot of people so far about this series. And, you know, they might not necessarily cover the Oilers on a day-to-day basis. And we've asked them specifically about the injury to Zach Hyman, his absence, what that's going to mean to the series. They're like, yeah, he's good, but it's probably not going to be that big of a deal because they're so deep. And I'm like, not so sure about that. What is the local perspective on his injury?
Yeah, local perspective can appreciate that other perspective you just mentioned, that there is depth on this Oilers team, but Zach Hyman's a glue guy. Zach Hyman scored 50-plus goals last season. Zach Hyman scores at the most clutch time. Zach Hyman was on the cusp of breaking an NHL record for hits this postseason. So he is like the heartbeat of the team. I know McDavid and Draisaitl get all the attention, but Hyman has been one of the best signings in franchise history in the close to 50 years that it's been a part of the NHL. And you can't deny the fact that that's a big hole that's left behind with Zach Hyman going through that wrist injury, the broken wrist that he had surgery on a day after it happened. So it is significant. It will have an impact on this series. But if you're an Oiler fan, you're looking at it and you're going, I hope the next man up mentality is good enough, because one of the differences between this Oilers team compared to the one that went to the final last year is the fact that they have legitimate veteran NHLers waiting in the wings that have been all-stars in the past, that have scored 30 goals in the past. Look at Jeff Skinner, look at Victor Arvidsson. Those guys were healthy scratches going into the third round, and now they had to get called upon because of injuries. And Hyman's is a significant hole injury-wise, and those guys will have to step up. But don't get me wrong, guys. That's a big-time injury.
It's been great the last couple rounds, but what were you thinking after they fell behind 2-0 against L.A., and then again after how bad he played and his teammates didn't help him out, how you saw when we had to go back to Skinner?
Yeah, Stu Skinner has been a lightning rod this year. It's tough for a hometown kid. And, you know, he took a step back this regular season. There's no denying that. His numbers weren't great. He wasn't very consistent, and he started the playoffs with a team in front of him that was way out of sorts, a group of players that were injured and missed a lot of time late in the year. And I'll point back to what Evander Kane and a bunch of other players said after game 2, that they felt like they were playing regular season mode. So the fan base was worried. Skinner has a target on his back all year long. I wouldn't be surprised if things don't go well in game 1 tomorrow and people start pointing the finger at Skinner right away. That's how touchy it can be with Stu Skinner. But they needed him to come back strong after the Calvin Pickard injury. Pickard, for a scrappy, hardworking veteran backup, put together a 6-game winning streak, which is incredible and says a lot about what this team has been able to do resiliency-wise. But if you know Stu Skinner, you expect him to bounce back. He kind of did it last year in the second round against Vancouver, had an extended time between games in this postseason and actually bounced back really strong. And when he goes and rattles off 3 shutouts in a 4-game stretch, holds Dallas to a goal or 2 every single game, and same with the Golden Knights. You guys saw that in Vegas. I think it's safe to say that, yeah, he came back strong. And then on top of that, and I think that's the most important thing to point out, the team was much better defensively in front of him. Not just the defensemen, but the 5-man unit in front of him, guys committing to the back check, guys committing to being in the right spot, defending in layers, sticks in lanes, all the hockey cliches. It seemed like the Oilers woke up, especially midway through that LA Kings series. It continued into that Vegas series, and then obviously with Dallas that we just saw.
Are you concerned about the penalty kill and could it decide the series?
Yes, straight up. The penalty kill has not been good this postseason for the Oilers, and that's a far cry from last year, where it was by far the best penalty kill in the postseason last year. It went on a crazy run last year. You just knew they were going to kill everything off. Not the case this year. They get touched up more often than not. There was one night against Dallas where they went 1 for 4, and all the credit in the world to the Dallas Stars power play and what they can do. But Edmonton's PK, guys, has been a sore spot. It hasn't really improved. It's had small spurts where it looked somewhat reliable, but then it would leak one, and then the next game it would let in 2. It's just been so inconsistent, and I am 100% concerned about the penalty kill, especially if the Panthers, and the pro scouts and the coaching staff find some things and some intricacies with Edmonton's PK that they can expose. It could be troublesome for the Oilers in the Stanley Cup final.
Well, here would be my advice. Avoid the the period number 3, game 1 catastrophe that you had against Dallas, because that was embarrassing.
Yeah. It was a 5-minute and 26-second span. And Edmonton's done this, and it's not like a new thing to this group. They kind of fall asleep and get lulled into a situation where the other team just absolutely takes over. I'll even point back to the Vegas series 2 years ago, when Edmonton was up in every single one of those games in the second round. And then what was it, game 5? They were up in Vegas and it was Philip Broberg got called for holding behind the Oilers net. Bit of a weak call. And then on that PK, it was Matthias Janmark, who's been just absolutely solid for this team in the playoffs again this year. Took a high sticking penalty and boom, boom. I think, the Golden Knights hit for 2 or 3 right in a row, and it just killed the Oilers in that game. And the rest of the way, they came back and lost here in Game 6. And Edmonton still has that tendency where they can fall into these little lapses for 6-7 minutes, and they allow 3 or 4 goals, and it changes the game. So they've done it this postseason. They have to mitigate that against the Florida Panthers, and if they can, it just betters their opportunity of winning the Stanley Cup.
Can you set the scene for us? I imagine it's going to be a madhouse. And thanks for this. I didn't know this. They haven't hosted games 1 and 2 since 1988 of the Cup, but you have right. That. So outside of Calgary, is the whole country rooting for him as well to end the drought that Canada hasn't won it since 93?
Yeah. I'll start with the Canada thing. I'm pretty sure people in Vancouver do not care for the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. You could almost say the same for Calgary. I think there are people in Calgary that are sympathetic to Edmonton. Maybe it's an Alberta thing, but I don't think they would, in general, particularly care for the Oilers to win the Cup. And then people in Toronto definitely don't want to see the Oilers win the Cup. But you go to Montreal, you go to Ottawa, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan even, and they'd be rooting for the Oilers. And yeah, the Cup drought thing, it was a big talking point for a while. It's kind of died off in our country. But the hype is real around here. There's all kinds of people, not just, media types, but just people coming in to watch games, buy tickets. The prices are ridiculous to get in the building for games 1 and 2 for sure. Games 5 and 7, I could only imagine what the prices will be. People want to go to Florida. The price to there's groups of people planning on renting charters, taking planes down to Florida, going to the games in Sunrise, and they could probably get in for half the price than they would up here. That's how crazy it is. And kind of gives you a taste of how crazy Oilers fans are. This fan base has been through a ton, and the feeling around here, it's interesting. It's neat to see there's a confidence about this fan base this year compared to last year, where it was a really up and down season that ended in a special way, unfortunately losing in Game 7, but the way that Edmonton started 2-9-1 last year and then went on a 16-game winning streak and then pushed to the Cup final, it almost felt like it was too good to be true, and it ultimately ended up being this way. This year, it's a little bit different. People expected them to be a contender. They lived up to that, and now they're going up against the Panthers, which I think a lot of people really want to see, and I think a lot of Oiler fans expect the team to win the Stanley Cup. So yeah, first time since '88 when Gretzky and Messier and the gang were rattling off 5 Stanley Cup wins in 7 years. Edmonton will host the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup final, and people have been just building up the anticipation. Bars are going to be packed. You're going to see the moss pit in and around the arena. It's going to be insane.
Hey, Tom, about 2 minutes left here. If the Oilers win, can you make a case for anybody other than McDavid to win the Conn Smythe?
Stuart Skinner, I know we talked about him. If he puts together just an absolutely immaculate final where he's only allowing, 2 goals max and he's making crazy saves in every one of the Oilers wins and it's a shorter series, then maybe you could make a case for him. But that's tough when your backups won 6 games in the playoffs. It would have to be something special. And then, Draisaitl maybe outside chance, Bouchard maybe outside chance, and a guy like Nugent Hopkins who had a great 3rd round. Maybe you could give him an outside chance as well. But McDavid's he's been so timely, you guys, so clutch. After they won in Game 5 against Dallas, you watch him and Draisaitl at the podium, full suit, hat on the table, and they were in business mode. So it's those two that I would pick between that will likely pick up a Conn Smythe in this series if Edmonton does win.
How about a prediction?
Ooh, well, okay. I do think Edmonton wins it. I think they get their redemption, but I do believe it's going to go 6 or 7 because this is going to be – these are the 2 teams that are built to win the Stanley Cup, and the way they dismissed everybody along the way I think was a sign of that, especially the way that the Panthers handled Carolina. Carolina was supposed to be a contender all year long, and they just mopped the floor with them. And then the way Edmonton took care of Vegas and then Dallas in 5 games I think is a sign that, they're ready for another Cup run. So these are the 2 best teams. I think they're going to be in a slobber knocker of a series, and minimal mistakes will cost them. So I think Edmonton in 6.
Tom, that was an awesome spot. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate that.
Thank you guys for having me.
Follow him on X at Tom Gazzola, Edmonton Sports Talk. Strong reaction to what happened in New York today. Tell you what it is next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Time here for our weekly visit with the owner and the CEO of Circa Las Vegas. Derek Stevens joins us every single Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 out here on the West Coast. Good to see you again today. How are you?
Good to see you, fellas.
We have a lot to get into with you today.
All right.
Let's begin with this. Saw the story on MLive.com written by Pat Pickens, and it has to do with what took place this week in the state of Illinois, where Circa Sports is at and where you can bet at. One of 5 states that you're in. His lead to the story reads like this. It's about to get a whole lot more expensive to bet on sports in Illinois. While many residents and sports bettors slept Saturday night, Democrats in the Illinois state legislature passed a tax hike on betting regulators that will ding each operator 25 cents per bet on the first 20 million wagers accepted annually, then 50 cents per bet thereafter as part of their new budget. Can you explain to the audience what this means to you, the operator, and what it means to the bettor?
Yeah, I mean you're putting basically a fee per wager on a bet. So if you take, for example, somebody makes a $1 bet, a 25-cent tax is a 25% deal. So you could kiss those $1, $2, $5, $10 bets. That's going to be the good old days. Effectively, what it means is you're going to have to raise minimums, particularly for low hold operators. Like I'll say for us as a low hold operator, if we try to hold, let's say 3%, well, by the time we got to pay the federal excise tax, and then we have to pay a fee to be, an associated gaming, an authorized gaming operator like with MLB and others. And then you throw this tax on, there's nothing there. There's no reason to take a bet less than $10. So if they're effectively minimizing anybody that wants to make a straight bet on lower denoms. And the only way you can do it is if you have these massive hold same game parlays. These holds with like 40-cent lines. It's terrible. It's not a good, logical, well thought out design what Illinois did, and I got to be careful because it's a privileged license. So I'm gonna have to just probably back down on that. But effectively, that article, I've not read that article. I mean, they're correct.
Let me ask you I think what is a benign question then as a follow up. If Circa was not in Illinois as of today, and the rules were as stated, would you look to enter that state?
Well, I would look to enter the state today in a different manner. I would look to enter the state with a model that may be a little bit different, like a 12 to 14% hold model. But I don't think a low hold model that Circa would have would make sense under that environment. I mean, effectively, the only ones that can really compete in Illinois are the illegal bookmakers, offshore and illegals.
Yeah. Yeah, boy.
So I think
what are they doing?
Yeah.
It's not logical. This is not well thought out.
Okay. Well said. Hits keep on coming. This is also a good article, David Purdom. How Kalshi and prediction markets are disrupting sports betting. Gambling regulators have ordered online financial exchange Kalshi to cease offering markets on sports, but the upstart company with White House connections has refused. It's picking up legal victories while continuing to allow customers to put money on their predictions in every state in the country. They say they're not betting, they're not gambling, and they get a transaction fee similar to a broker. How do you feel about this story and what they're up to?
I'm going to come off 0 for 2 on this. I mean, anybody that says you're not betting on Kalshi is crazy. I mean, you got states where there's been votes where sports gambling is still not legal. It hasn't passed. It's legislatively not legal. But this is an end around. And no, I mean, anybody that says this is not gambling, it's crazy. It's absolutely gambling. And they're superseding some states that don't want gambling, like Utah. States that just voted it down, like California, like Hawaii. It's crazy what Kalshi's doing. So to say that this is not sports gambling is ludicrous. It's like going outside right now and say it's not raining. It's raining outside. It's absolutely raining outside. Everybody knows it's raining outside. This is just an end around. Now, I would say the one thing about Kelce, though, I think as shrewd as they've been, I question the reality and the longevity of this because there's too much money being lost. Like, as an example.
Okay.
Why would Circus Sports continue to be a licensed operator? I pay the state of Illinois $5 million a year. We pay $5 million for a skin. We pay 0.25% handle tax, federal excise tax. We pay a fee to every league for league data. Why would we do that? We'll just become an exchange. I'll cut the splits down to minus 103, minus 102 on the other side. Not pay anybody. That means all the states get cut out of everything. All the federal excise tax goes away. I mean, I'm going to stand up for our guys at FanDuel over here. You know, Amy House paying $100 million for problem gambling. And why should FanDuel have to pay that? I mean, these other guys aren't paying anything. They're paying nothing. It's an unbelievable end around. And I also think at the end of the day, the leagues aren't getting their share. I mean, the leagues are all kind of waiting back to have somebody else throw a knockout punch here. But the knockout punch, in my opinion, it's coming.
Well, so they're passed in Nevada, which it's almost like impossible to get some things passed via the Nevada Gaming Commission.
What's passed in Nevada?
I read in this story today. It's good here.
No. Kelce's really not good anywhere.
Well,
they're
okay.
over 50, actually. Yeah. They're just an end around, and no one's been able to beat them. But no, it's like the weatherman saying it's sunny out. No, it's raining. Somebody's going to win.
Well, what's the knockout punch? Who's going to deliver it?
It's above my pay grade, man.
Okay.
But the knockout punch has to be coming. There's way too much money that's being left on the sidelines by allowing an end around to work. I mean, are you going to supersede 60 years of a sports gaming industry and just say to hell with it? It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you're worried about problem gambling with Kelce, forget about it. You're worried about offshore, forget about it. You're worried about money laundering, forget about it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense what's happening here.
So at some point, the one league's going to have to put their foot down.
Well,
and you think would that be the breaking point?
Well, I think it's going to be a league. It's going to be a state. It's going to be past was all about states' rights. Is it a state? I mean, now this is coming up over the top, saying federal. Well, then why on earth would we be paying federal excise tax? It doesn't make any sense.
Sure.
This is just a very smart way of becoming an illegal bookmaker and not paying anybody.
Amazing. So, yeah, what you said is exactly right. You could just say, oh, forget about us being regulated now and paying all those fees. You're going to bet against Derek Stevens. It's the Derek Stevens exchange rate. And I'm going to offer $1.04 here and $1.03 on the other side. Let's go. Let's have some fun.
We'd make a lot more money. We would make a lot more money. That's fair to say. That's why this just doesn't make sense. I mean, this is just an unbelievable end around. This is not the long-term way this is going to work out.
Okay. Well done. What'd you think of the college baseball so far?
I love it.
I understand Vandy was a great result for you, losing.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Glad LSU's still in there. Boy, what a weekend it was!
Oh,
I'll tell you,
couldn't believe it.
I love.
Did you ever see 14-1 on a baseball game? Little Rock won. They were 14-1.
It's unbelievable. I love college baseball so much, and this weekend is just so great. And you know that Squeeze Play channel. If you had a chance to watch some of that, that's a heck of a watch on a Sunday afternoon.
They did a great job with that. Jensen was on some of the coverage. He's going to be on North Carolina and Arizona as well. What do you think? Does chaos continue here, or do we finally get some of the chalk to prevail?
Well, I think it's interesting. Now all of a sudden, Duke comes out of that region, and now they're a big favorite in the super regionals. Take a look at, Arizona. Nobody expected Arizona to come out. They're looking nice. No, this is what it's all about. This was great. Murray State.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing: Duke or Murray State, one of those two is going to the College World Series.
Think about that.
Who'd ever thought about that?
Think about that.
It's
right?
awesome.
How was Wrigley Field?
Oh, it was spectacular. I never got on the bleachers before. That was a great time. We loved it. And we were over on the side, Wrigleyville Dogs, a couple hundred people, DJ. It was fun.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Right field sucks, though. That's the chant. Didn't they tell you?
I didn't hear about that.
You didn't hear it?
I didn't hear it.
They didn't chant right field sucks?
I was so far up in right field. We got there after in the first inning. So of course every seat's gone at 120. But we were so far in the back of this big platform. It was like a social event. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You brought in a new jacket today, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Check
have
this out.
almost
that.
400 people in Circa Survivor.
Strong
Still
start.
One right now in Grandissimo. But what
Look
are we
at this.
looking
It
at
just
here?
came in. This is it. There's the G4 jacket. You can see Circa Grandissimo. We got a little thing here. These jackets are sweet.
Good job.
And
So
those
we're going to
are-
get one to Ian, and after that, they're open for whoever gets into Grandissimo.
Okay. Those are not going to. We'll get this question a lot. You cannot buy those at a gift shop. You
No,
have
you
to enter the
cannot.
contest, and that's going to be your jacket.
Those are earned. Yeah. Yeah. No, we're off to a rip-roaring start.
I'd say.
I'm a little surprised. I mean, the survivors coming in, Circus Survivors coming in, and the millions coming in has been great. And then I've run into about 4 or 5 people saying, hey, I put my group together. I have had a lot of very positive feedback on future Grandissimo entries.
I talked to a guy yesterday. He did the full house. He's going to shove on the Eagles. If he loses, he's coming back.
Here we go.
How you like that?
Have you heard more of that too?
Heard a little bit about that. Yeah, I like it. I like the way the schedule plays out. Yeah, it makes sense.
There you go.
Great appearance. Thanks for stopping by.
All
We
right.
appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Derek Stevens, owner, CEO, Circa Las Vegas. We'll recap our bets from last night. Tell you what we're adding in pocket plays next here on VSiN.